Undercover billionaire enters public school. What the black cleaning lady says makes him tremble. Damien Moreau, heir to one of the most powerful families in the country, decides to go undercover in a public school in Baltimore to prove to himself that he understands the reality of ordinary people. What initially seems like a power game changes completely when he meets Selena Caldwell, the school's janitor, and her daughter Amara, a brilliant young girl who dreams of changing the world despite all the challenges. From that moment on, Damien begins to see life differently, but he also starts carrying secrets that could ruin everything. Amid injustice, humiliation, and impossible choices, he'll be forced to decide between loyalty to his own blood or the love that was born. Through pain. And when the truth comes out for everyone to see, none of them will walk away unscathed, because there are encounters that change not only destinies, but the meaning of an entire life. Before we begin today's story, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I love finding out how far these stories can go. And if you enjoy plots full of emotion, twists, and love stories that touch the heart, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss any upcoming stories and will help this space grow and bring you more and more special content. Damien Moreau wakes up before dawn with the city still cold. At 34 years old, fair-skinned, 6'1", broad-shouldered with a sharp jawline, his blue-gray eyes are trained to assess risks. His dark brown hair, usually perfectly styled, is slightly tousled today, on purpose. He trades his tailored suit for a cheap flannel shirt, wrinkled chinos, worn-out sneakers, and a backpack that looks like it's been through years of use. He studies his reflection and practices a shy smile, the opposite of the confident expression known to newspapers and boardrooms. His phone vibrates. The voice of Victor Moreau, 62, light-skinned, graying hair, piercing eyes, and precise diction, fills the room. Remember why you're doing this, Damien. Metrics. We need metrics, images, a report that will silence investors and the press. Damien presses the phone to his ear. Got it. 1 week, enough data, and a moving narrative. No getting involved. Observe. Record. Deliver. This is a job, not a crusade. The call ends. The silence that follows is heavy. He gets dropped off 1 block before his destination to avoid drawing attention. The public school building appears with darkened bricks, cracked windows, and a faded mural trying to celebrate future engineers and artists. Near the entrance, a metal detector beeps intermittently. The air smells like disinfectant mixed with old mold. ID boss. The security guard, a tired-looking man, stares at him without hostility, just routine. Teach Forward program. Volunteer. I'm Damien. He shows the badge recently issued by the foundation partner. Admin office to the left. You'll need to sign the protocol. The secretary, Mrs. Green, wearing a mask of professional exhaustion, pushes a clipboard with forms toward him. Sign here, here, and here. If the math teacher's absent, you'll cover the 8th grade class. In room 207, and welcome. Her tone says, nobody stays. Is there any material? If you find working markers, that's already a miracle. In the hallway, he hears the sound of a broom and stops. A black woman, 31, with dark brown skin, long braids tied behind her back, and sharp amber eyes, kneels beside a bucket. Her blue uniform has lost its sheen, but her posture is upright. She is Selena Caldwell. She scrubs a stain near a burst. Ceiling leak where a yellow tape tries to block access. Watch the puddle. She squints when she sees his badge. New volunteer? Keep an eye on the ceiling. It rains inside here. Damien steps back. Thanks for the warning. Warning doesn't pay for repairs. She returns to work, her gloves creaking. The short, dry sentence hits him like a cold fact. Room 207 has scratched desks and a taped-up map of the aftermath. U.S. The marker barely writes. Students burst in like a whirlwind, backpacks, laughter, hidden phones. A tall boy in a worn-out jacket sizes him up. Who are you? Damien takes a breath and hangs his backpack on the desk. I'm Mr. D. I'm covering math. And I promise 2 things. I won't yell, and I won't waste your time. Empty promise. Mutters a girl in the back. He tries a simple warm-up. If half of 200 is 100, what's 15% of 200? Silence. A boy with glasses answers in a whisper. 30 right, and 15% of 80? 12. Exactly. Now, why does this matter? Because everything's a percentage when we go to the store, says another girl, with a maturity that contrasts with her coverless notebook. Damien smiles with unexpected sincerity. Exactly. As the rhythm begins to pick up, the ceiling starts dripping steadily in the corner. Some students laugh. A crumpled paper towel becomes a joke, then a ball. It's not funny, says a boy in the corner, his breathing slightly wheezy. My sister had an attack because of the mold here. Damien feels his throat dry. He remembers the order, don't get involved, but he points to the leak and calculates. Let's move the desks on this side. Math with logistics. 3 rows to the left, 2 forward. No accidents. The class shifts, resistant but curious. He joins in, lifting a heavy desk with a boy trying to joke around. If I drop it, do I get extra credit? If you help, everyone saves time. At recess, the hallway is full of voices. A veteran teacher, light-skinned, thinning hair, bumps into him. You're the new guy. You'll last 3 days. What makes you say that? The math never adds up. Overcrowded? Classes, leaks, supplies that never arrive. They make promises, take PR photos, then disappear. Damien swallows hard. Who makes promises? Big foundation, fancy masks, pretty website. Something Moreau. He keeps a neutral face. I see in the cafeteria. Trays clatter, kids fight for seats. At one end, Selena holds a heavy trash bag with one hand and straightens chairs with the other. The assistant superintendent walks by without looking, speaking on the phone. The donor wants a digital display. Put the logo big. Selena watches him. Walk away and murmurs without looking at Damien. A scream doesn't cover a leak. He steps closer. How? How do you request repairs? With a form, then an email, then a prayer. She looks at him for a second, amber eyes steady. Sometimes someone listens. Most pretend they didn't see and you keep insisting. Because the kids come back tomorrow. In the afternoon, room 207 is quieter. Damien suggests a group challenge. Compare store discounts, convert to percentages, defend the best deal. The class comes alive, even with frayed cables. At the end, he writes on the board, knowledge is power when it turns into action. The marker fades on the last word. A student raises her hand. Can you come back tomorrow? He takes a second. I can. On the way out, he walks down a freshly mopped hallway and nearly slips. Selena gives an automatic careful and continues. He notices her hands. Fingers marked by cleaning products, short nails, a simple wedding ring. Thanks for today. He says, not really sure why. I just did my job. Sometimes that's what saves a day. She pauses, surprised by the honesty. If that's true, I hope to save many. Outside, the sun sets behind rows of townhouses. Damien walks to the corner, but his gaze is drawn back to the school's front. There's a shiny plaque near the gate. Moreau. Foundation, committed to the future. He stares at the sign for a long time. Selena's words, the teachers, the Wheezy boys, they all repeat in his head like an equation that doesn't add up. His phone vibrates again. Well, his father's voice returns, firm. Did you get material? I did. He looks at the dripping ceiling reflected in the window. But not the kind you want, Damien. Stay focused. He ends the call without replying. For the first time in a long while, he feels like he doesn't know what the best move is. And that bothers him more than any financial report ever could. The next morning, the sky over Baltimore is still pale when Damien Moreau walks through the school gate wearing the same cheap plaid shirt, worn-out sneakers, and faded backpack he chose for his disguise. He passes the shiny sign with the Moreau Foundation logo and looks away as if the light might expose him. Inside, he tries to put on the mask of Mr. D, just an ordinary volunteer. On the outside, everything about him still signals discipline and control. Upright posture, squared shoulders, measured steps. Even the pale mark from the expensive watch he removed to avoid drawing attention remains on his wrist, a detail that irritates his need for perfection. The hallway smells like citrus, disinfectant mixed with reheated coffee. A broom sings across the waxed floor. Selena Caldwell is there, knees supported by worn-out knee pads, long braids pulled back, dark brown skin glowing with effort, rubber gloves molding firm fingers. Her amber eyes take in everything at once. The backpack, the badge, the polite hesitation of someone unfamiliar with the place. She wears simple black sneakers, a blue uniform faded at the seams, and around her neck a necklace with a tiny pendant, discreet like a secret that doesn't ask permission. Good morning, says Damien, attempting a light cordiality that always worked in boardrooms. Good is when there's no leak, Selena replies, not raising her voice much. Today is almost good. He points to a heavy cleaning cart with squeaky wheels. Can I help push it? No, you can't. If bleach spills on the floor, students slip. And I'm the one held responsible. Damien pulls back his hand, a bit surprised not to be met with automatic gratitude. I understand. Understanding is different from respecting protocol. She responds firmly, already moving along with the cart. Farther ahead, a group of students walks in with mud on their shoes. A teacher hurries across the hall and throws out a sentence without stopping. Selena, take care of this, please, and quickly. It's not a request. It's an old command. She takes a deep breath, kneels, runs the mop, and in 2 swift movements creates a safe path. No one thanks her. Damien feels his jaw tighten. The scene leaves him torn between the urge to impose authority and the awareness that, here, he's just another person. In the supply closet, the shelves display bottles labeled with marker, clean. Cloths folded as if someone is tidying chaos with care. He approaches the open door. I could reorganize, optimize the space, create labels. There are labels already. Mine says work done. I just thought that think less about what seems efficient and more about what's safe. Last time they optimized, someone spilled chemicals and 3 kids got sick. Damien swallows the offer like someone pulling back a poorly moved chess piece. Understood. The bell rings. The school fully wakes up. Damien heads to 207, but the Fidembinma, the Midionet Hanmaf. Damien heads to 207, but the Damien heads to 200. Routine pushes him back into the hallway when chaos erupts in the cafeteria. A tray falls, cups shatter, juice spreads. Students scream, others laugh nervously. Selena arrives first, agile body, clear voice, move the chairs. Line here. You, grab towels. You, call the nurse. Damien steps in to help on instinct. I'll hold the flow, control the passage. Leave a clear path. Good, she says, without sarcasm. And watch out for the glass. He crouches, picking up pieces by hand, distracted. A thin shard escapes and cuts his skin. Blood wells up. Stop. Hand up, Selena orders. She pulls a small kit from her pocket. cleans the cut with precise movements. Her touch is firm, without ceremony, and there's no forced tenderness or unnecessary harshness, just trained care. "Don't squeeze. Breathe." "I'm fine," he says, too proud to admit the pain. You learn fast. But here, fast without caution becomes an accident. The assistant superintendent enters the cafeteria adjusting his tie and wearing a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Excellent response, team. That's the kind of attitude that makes us a district example. Oh, and at 3 o'clock, we'll have a donor visit. We need everything to look. Innovative. Digital panel? Someone asks. That's it. The panel will show the journey of our community's triumph. Selena returns to the floor, mops carefully. A panel doesn't dry a wet floor, she says without looking up. Damien hears it and feels a tightness inside, as if her words cut through any polished speech. When the commotion dies down, he walks beside her toward the locker hallway. "You always take the lead like that. I do what needs to be done." No spotlight. It's not about the spotlight. It's about value. She stops, looks at him with eyes that don't shy away. Value is when you're recognized for what you do, not when you're turned into a photo story. Charity doesn't fix neglect. I'm not that kind of person. Where I grew up, that kind of person doesn't have a fixed face. It has habits. They show up, make promises, throw an event, leave before the leak starts. Damien absorbs the sentence. His instinct is to respond, to prove competence, to mention he managed budgets and teams. He takes a breath and says nothing. At noon, a strange vibration runs through the building. A creak, a hollow sound above the ceiling. Damien looks up, reflected in a light fixture. Selena is already in motion. "Pipe in corridor 3, she says, like someone recognizing the signature of an old enemy. "I'll call maintenance." "Call them, but come with me. The main valve is in the basement. If it bursts, it rains inside." They run. Corridor 3 already shows small drops tracing paths along the walls. A thin stream starts to form on the floor. Children pull back. Damien tries to guide them. "Line up against the opposite wall. No running." "Wrench," Selena says. "Got it." He opens the maintenance room, fumbles through boxes, finds the tool. The basement is narrow, damp concrete, vibrating metal pipes. "Hold the flashlight," she says. "If I twist the wrong way, pressure builds. Are you sure?" "I've done this before." She twists. The metal groans. The vibration decreases. The water stops. The noise becomes just breathing. There's the walls, the buildings. Back in the corridor, students release a collective sigh. An assistant principal arrives late and impatient. "Caldwell, you left your area without permission. I stopped a flood. Next time, get authorization." Damien steps in, firm voice. "She prevented a safety issue." "I can vouch for that. You're a volunteer." The assistant cuts in. "Stay in your lane." Selena's face remains impassive as the man walks away. Only when they're alone does her expression relax. There's no victimhood, just the tiredness of someone who knows their limits. "I appreciate the intention," she says. "Intention without impact is just noise," he replies, recognizing her earlier words echoing back. "You're learning," she ventures a half smile that lights up her eyes. But learning here hurts. In the afternoon, Damien walks through the hall and finds a mural with children's drawings. Colorful houses, families holding hands, rain turning into rainbows. One drawing shows a school with a purple roof held up by giant hands. He thinks of Selena's hands marked, but steady. By the end of the day, the school catches its breath like someone who has survived another round. In the courtyard, the sun casts a shy golden light on the worn steps. Selena ties up the final trash bag, a measured gesture from someone who knows the exact weight of each day. Damien approaches, no longer feeling the urge to lead. Why are you really here? She asks, without embellishment. To teach. A man who avoids answering has already answered. He lowers his eyes for a moment. I want to understand. Understand what? What doesn't show up in reports? She grabs the cart, carefully positions the wheels. Then listen more than you speak. And look without posing for photos. I know a canned speech when I hear one. She takes a step, then turns back, as if choosing words like selecting the right tool. When rich folks show up here, they either want a photo or they want control. If you stay, you'll have to choose between the two. Selena heads down the hallway, disappearing through a side door. Damien stands still, feeling the sentence echo like a bell no one sees, but everyone hears. In the distance, a faint leak starts again, a reminder that nothing there rests for long. He inhales, and for the first time understands that the game has changed, and he wasn't the one who made the rules. Damien's third day at the school begins with a noisy hallway, backpacks banging against lockers and voices echoing as if every child wants to be heard above the chaos. The smell of cheap snacks mixes with cleaning products. Turning the corner, he sees Selena Caldwell pushing the heavy cart, her braids tied back with a simple scarf, her face lit by the persistence of someone who fulfills invisible duties. 3 older students leaning against the wall watch her. One of them, tall, wearing his cap backward, mimics the sound of the broom scraping the floor. Another covers his nose and pretends to cough. The third, laughing, says loudly, "Hey, Miss Selena, clean up quick, because the floor's more important than us around here." The laughter spreads like fire on dry straw. Damien stops a few feet away. His chest tightens, his eyes fix on the scene, but his feet don't move. His instinct screams to intervene, but the disguise holds him back. The fear of being discovered, of drawing attention, paralyzes his courage. He lowers his gaze like someone avoiding a confrontation they know is wrong. Selena, however, does not bend. She leans on the mop, lifts her face, and looks the boys in the eye with firm, amber eyes. If the floor you walk on has no value, neither will your path. Her tone is not angry but true. The boys hesitate, mask their shame with more laughter, and slowly walk away. Damien exhales in relief when the moment ends, but inside, he's left with the bitter taste of cowardice. Hours later, at the end of the day, he walks across the empty courtyard. The sun slowly descends over Baltimore, tinting the buildings burnt orange. Selena is sitting on the front steps, hands resting on her knees, still with her gloves hanging from her uniform pocket. Damien approaches, each step heavy like a confession. About this morning. He begins, his voice low. "You don't need to explain," she cuts in, looking ahead without turning to him. "I should have said something." idea in single quotes T. Selena turns her face, eyes hard but not hostile. The silence of someone who could do something is as cruel as the act of someone who oppresses. The words hit him like hammers. Damien feels his body freeze. He, who always calculated numbers, contracts, and decisions with cold precision, had never felt a sentence weigh like a verdict. He hesitates, searches for an alibi, but finds none. "I didn't know what to do, when we don't know how to act. The heart shows us. The problem is when we silence the heart to protect our image." She stands slowly, adjusts a simple backpack on her shoulders. The sun hits her braids and creates golden reflections. "I don't expect everyone to defend me. I've learned to defend myself. But when I see someone capable of standing up and choosing to do nothing, that cuts deeper than a foolish boy's insult." Damien feels the ground narrow beneath him. For the first time, he's not in control of the narrative. He tries to respond, but the words die in his throat. He simply watches Selena descend the steps, each step firm, leaving behind a silence that speaks louder than any argument. He remains standing until the gate closes, her words hammering in his mind. For the first time, Damien Moreau doesn't know if the weight he carries is from the disguise or his own conscience. The sky darkens, and the shadow of the Moreau Foundation sign stretches across the cracked pavement, reminding him that his secrets have limits, but the truth always finds a way to seep through. The next day begins with cold wind cutting through the school corridors. Damien enters room 207, still haunted by Selena's words from the afternoon before. They echo like a sentence not easily erased. He tries to focus on the board, but his eyes drift to the scratched desks, the worn notebooks, and the children who, despite the exhaustion on their faces, still carry flickers of hope. During a percentage exercise, he notices a girl in the back of the room with her eyes fixed on her notebook, chewing on her pencil. She's thin, light brown-skinned, curly hair pulled into a high ponytail, and an intense look mixing focus with sadness. Her clothes are simple, her sneakers worn, but her notebook is filled with carefully organized notes. A boy next to her nudges her and loudly whispers on purpose, "What's the point of doing math if y'all don't even have money at home?" The laughter spreads through the row. The girl lowers her face, but her teary eyes reveal the pain. Damien feels his blood boil, but this time he doesn't stay silent. "What's your name?" he asks firmly. "Amara," she replies almost in a whisper. "Amara." "What?" Amara Caldwell. The name hits Damien like a shock. Caldwell. Selena's daughter. He takes a deep breath, trying to control his expression so no one sees the impact. He looks at the boy who mocked her and with a calm but firm voice says, "Intelligence isn't measured by money, and respect is not optional in this classroom. If you can't learn from her, at least learn to stay quiet." The boy's laughter vanishes instantly. Damien approaches Amara's desk, kneels to her eye level. "Which part are you stuck on?" She turns the notebook, showing pencil calculations, scribbles of trial and error. "I can't figure out how to get the right answer. I know I have to multiply, but I always mess up the last part. Can I show you?" Amara nods quickly. He takes the pencil and writes slowly. "Look, you're on the right track. You just forgot to divide at the last step. Math is like a staircase. Each step needs the one below to hold it up." She watches closely, biting her lower lip. "So I didn't mess everything up? No, you just missed one step. And missing a step doesn't mean you don't know how to walk." A light appears in her eyes. "I want to be an engineer. I want to build big buildings that don't leak like this school. My mom always says I can be whatever I want, but sometimes it feels like just a dream." Damien feels a knot in his chest. The honesty in that child's voice cuts through him in a way nothing else had in years. A dream is a blueprint, and every blueprint starts on paper, with calculations like this one. If you keep studying, one day you'll design buildings one will be able to ignore. Amara gives a shy but hopeful smile. "You talk different from the other teachers. They just say we need to pass the test. I believe you need to go beyond the test. You need to believe in yourself." The bell rings and the class begins to disperse. Amara carefully puts away her notebook as if it were a treasure. Before leaving, she turns to Damien and says, "Thank you. No one ever explained it to me like that." He feels his heart beat faster, a strange warmth spreading through his body. A part of him, once surrounded by strategies and contracts, now surrenders to the purity of a girl who asked for nothing but attention and respect. In the hallway, Damien watches Amara run to Selena, who waits with the cleaning cart beside her. The girl hugs her tightly, and Selena bends down to hear her daughter's excited words. Damien can't hear, but sees the rare smile on the janitor's face, one that contrasts with the hardness of all her other expressions. He stays where he is torn between approaching and respecting their space. The sun filters through the cracked window and lights up the unlikely trio: mother, daughter, and the disguised billionaire, separated by a few steps and an abyss of secrets. Damien closes his eyes for a moment. The image of Amara saying, "I want to be an engineer," stays with him. For the first time, he feels he's not just undercover in a power game. He's facing something that might transform his own life, and no strategy can prepare him for that. End of the week arrives with the promise of a community meeting in the school auditorium. Damien wears the same plaid shirt that has become the uniform of his disguise. He feels the weight in his chest. Something in him can no longer detach from the children or the spark in Amara's eyes. But that morning, the mood in the hallways is different. Teachers walk quickly, staff whisper among themselves, and students sense that something bigger is about to happen. The auditorium is simple, plastic chairs lined up, a microphone that crackles during every test, and a huge banner with the name printed: Moreau Foundation, Building Futures. Damien swallows hard, reading the surname he's tried to hide. On stage, a school coordinator, a man with a rehearsed tone, holds papers with prepared speeches. Selena was there, wearing her worn-out blue uniform, sitting in the back rows, her cleaning cart parked beside her. She usually didn't attend these meetings, but a teacher insisted she come, saying the meeting would be about investments in the school. Damien watched from afar. She didn't look comfortable, but her steady gaze made it clear she refused to be invisible, even when others tried to place her in that role. The coordinator began. The Moreau Foundation has been an essential partner in bringing resources to our school. This year, they've promised $20,000 for structural renovations. We already have plans for digital panels and new computer equipment. A murmur rippled through the auditorium. Selena raised her hand slowly, but her voice, as she stood, did not tremble. "Excuse me, I'd like to ask something." The coordinator frowned, not used to cleaning staff speaking during meetings. "Yes, Mrs. Caldwell, go ahead." She looked at everyone with the same dignity she showed while holding a broom. "I personally submitted forms about the mold in the ceiling and broken plumbing. It's been going on for 3 years. Every report says funds were released. But what we see are new computers while our children breathe in mold. Where is the money for those renovations going?" Silence took over the room. Some teachers looked away, others whispered. Damien felt his whole body tense. Up. The name Moreau seemed to echo even louder inside the auditorium. The coordinator tried to regain control. "Investments are complex. They take time." Selena didn't back down. "What's complex is watching a child have an asthma attack because the ceiling leaks over their desk. What's complex is receiving promises and never seeing results. What's not complex is doing the math. $20,000 come in, nothing changes. Someone is redirecting funds and everyone pretends not to see." The words hit hard. The crowd reacted, some with timid applause, others in shock. Damien felt his heart race. He looked around for an exit but was trapped inside his own disguise. Selena's face shone with courage, and at the same time, each of her words chipped away at the mask he wore. Moreau Foundation, she repeated with irony. A pretty name printed on every wall. But a name doesn't stop a leak. Damien pressed his hands against his legs. He knew his father managed those numbers, that the family image was being exposed right there, in front of everyone. But more than anything, he saw Selena's daughter, Amara, watching her mother with silent pride, without knowing that the man sitting a few rows ahead belonged to the same family being accused. The coordinator finally interrupted, visibly uncomfortable. "That's enough, Mrs. Caldwell. We'll handle these matters through proper channels. This meeting is not the place for accusations." Selena pulled her cart with her. But before leaving, she delivered the sentence that froze Damien. When the truth is silenced, it comes back stronger. You can ignore me, but you can't ignore what's right in front of your eyes. Damien's gaze followed her to the door. His mind was a battlefield. On one side, the image of his father demanding loyalty and silence. On the other, the dignity of a simple but courageous woman and the innocence of a daughter who still believed. In dreams. He stood up, walking in the opposite direction, his chest pounding as if each heartbeat were a warning dot in the empty hallway. He rested his hands on the cold wall. For the first time, he felt fear not of losing power or wealth, but of losing himself if he kept quiet. The echo of the meeting still lingered in the corridors when the school's routine was abruptly disrupted. On a gray morning, the administration called all staff to an urgent meeting. The assistant principal, a man with a stiff tone, light skin, and slicked back hair, held an envelope like it was a sentence. Damien, standing among the teachers, watched. From a distance, "We received a serious complaint," the assistant announced, raising the paper. Altered cleaning supplies were found expired products that could cause poisoning. And the direct person responsible for this department is Selena Caldwell. A heavy murmur swept through the room. Selena stood tall, posture firm, but her eyes full of outrage. "That's a lie," she said without hesitation. "I personally check every product before using it. No cleaning staff member here would ever risk these children's lives." The assistant gave a calculated, ironic smile. "Interesting, because it was found in your storage cabinet, and the inventory tags are signed with your name." He held up a dusty bottle, like staged evidence. Damien felt his stomach turn. It reeked of a setup. He remembered what he'd overheard. In hallway conversations, overpriced contracts, falsified receipts. Everything went through the administration. The blatant injustice was right in front of him. "If someone touched my cabinet, it was to frame me," Selena replied, her voice steady. Despite the tension, "I would never allow children to be in danger. Everyone here knows my commitment." The assistant's tone hardened. "Words aren't enough, Mrs. Caldwell. The school board will be informed and, until then, you're suspended from your duties." The silence that followed was cruel. Damien could no longer remain still. He stepped forward, his voice echoing across the makeshift auditorium. "With all due respect, this accusation doesn't hold. I was in the hallway yesterday afternoon and saw another employee enter the supply room. And I can confirm that Selena was not present." Everyone turned to him. The assistant squinted. "And who are you to interfere?" "I'm a volunteer here. And more than that, someone who saw the truth." Selena looked at him, surprised, as if she never expected to be defended by him. The tension in the air was palpable. The assistant tried to redirect. "So you're accusing a colleague of planting evidence?" "I'm accusing the rush to condemn an honest woman without even investigating. If this school teaches anything, it should be justice. Not injustice disguised as order." A murmur grew. Teachers whispered among themselves. Some nodded discreetly. The assistant, realizing he had lost ground, backed off with fake composure. "Very well, we'll reevaluate the case. But if new evidence arises, suspension will be unavoidable." The meeting ended in a tense atmosphere. Selena walked out with her head held high, but the tears in her eyes betrayed the weight she carried. Damien followed her into the courtyard, where she stopped to take a deep breath. "You didn't have to do that," she said, not looking at him. "I did." Staying silent would have been. Cowardice. She finally looked at him, amber eyes shining through held-back tears. "No one's ever defended me like that. I'm used to fighting alone. Maybe you don't have to fight alone anymore." The silence that followed wasn't empty. There was a new energy, a connection no words could hide. The cold wind played with Selina's braids, and Damien, without realizing, stepped closer. Their eyes locked long seconds that felt like an eternity. The desire was there, restrained but alive. Selina looked away first, crossing her arms like someone shielding their heart. "Don't be fooled, Mr. D. I appreciate it. But trust is something that takes time. You don't buy it with one gesture." Damien gave a slight smile, accepting the boundary. "Then I'll wait. I have time." She walked away, but before turning the corner, she looked back briefly. Her gaze, brief but intense, was like fire thrown against the armor Damien had always worn. For the first time in a long while, he felt vulnerable. And a live night fell over Baltimore with the weight of a silence that hid invisible dangers. Damien was already at home, replaying every one of Selina's looks. When the school's phone call echoed in his mind like an alarm, he rushed back. After being informed something had happened. When he arrived, he found Amara collapsed in the hallway, struggling to breathe, her eyes wide with panic. Selina was kneeling beside her daughter, frantic, trying to control the attack. "She can't breathe, right? Please, someone do something." Selina's voice trembled, but her hands held the girl's fragile body firmly. Damien didn't hesitate. He picked Amara up in his arms, his strong arms holding her light frame, and ran through the school gate. Selina, desperate, followed. The night siren seemed to blare just for them as they crossed streets until reaching the nearest hospital. In the emergency room, Damien handed Amara over to the doctors, and Selina gripped his hand tightly, as if it were her only support amid the chaos. "Stay with me," she asked, tears streaming down her face. "I can't face this alone." Hours felt like days. The reception clock marked slow, cruel time. Damien watched Selina pace back and forth, eyes glassy, her uniform wrinkled from rushing. Every gesture held both dignity and pain. Until finally, the doctor returned with news. She's stable. The crisis was caused by mold and humidity in the school environment. She needs follow-up care, but she's breathing better now. Selina closed her eyes, a long sigh escaping her lips. Damien held her shoulders firmly. "She's going to be okay. I promise she won't go through this again." Selina opened her teary eyes and looked at him. "Don't promise what you can't keep, Damien. How many times have they said our kids would be safe? How many promises have I heard, and nothing ever changed?" He felt his chest burn. "I'm not like the others." The silence grew heavy. In the small hospital room, Amara slept with machines assisting her breathing. The dim light lit only half of Selina's face, revealing the exhaustion, strength, and vulnerability of a mother carrying the world alone. She approached the bed, stroked her daughter's hair, and when she turned around, she noticed Damien standing at the door, watching with respect. Their eyes met, and in that moment, there were no more walls between boss and employee, between wealth and poverty. There were only two human beings united by the fear of losing what mattered most. Selina walked toward him slowly, her steps echoing in the silence of the early morning. "You could have left after bringing her here, but you stayed." "I couldn't abandon you," Damien replied, his voice low, like a confession. She took a deep breath, staring at him. "I don't know what to think of you. Every gesture confuses me. I want to believe you, but I'm afraid." Damien stepped forward. "And I'm afraid you'll find out who I really am. But even so, I can't stay away." The tension between them became palpable. Selina, with tears in her eyes, slowly lifted her face. Damien hesitated for only a second, and then their lips met in an unexpected kiss, urgent, full of gratitude and pain, but also of restrained desire. It was a forbidden kiss, full of secrets and the love beginning to bloom from the ruins of mistrust. When they pulled away, Selina gently touched his face but quickly withdrew, as if reminded of the walls still. standing. "This shouldn't have happened," she murmured, but her eyes contradicted her words. Damien simply replied, firmly, "Maybe this is exactly what should have happened." Their hearts were racing. Amara breathed peacefully in her hospital bed, unaware that in that room something greater than pain had started to grow. But along with the warmth of passion, Damien felt the shadow of the secret he carried, a secret that could destroy everything that Kiss had just begun to build. The following week carried an invisible tension. Damien tried to keep up his disguise, but the kiss in the hospital wouldn't leave his mind. Every time he saw Selena in the hallway, pushing the cleaning cart with her smiling daughter beside her, his heart beat faster, caught between fear and hope. That morning, the school was preparing for another public event by the Moreau Foundation. A digital display was about to be unveiled with local press and rehearsed speeches. The auditorium was full. Teachers, students, parents, and staff filled every seat. At the center of the stage, a glowing banner read, "Moreau Foundation Commitment to the Future." Damien sat among the teachers, trying to appear invisible. Then the door swung open with authority. Victor Moreau entered. Tall, gray hair slicked back, impeccable suit, posture like a general. His cold eyes scanned the room until they landed on Damien. Silence fell instantly, as if everyone instinctively sensed that this man carried far too much power. "Ladies and gentlemen," Victor began, his deep voice echoing through the microphone. "Today we celebrate another step in our foundation's commitment to this community." He smiled for the cameras, but his cold gaze was fixed on his son. "And it is with pride and disappointment that I come to expose a truth that can no longer be hidden." Damien felt his blood freeze. Selena, sitting in the back, lifted her head, confused. Victor pointed to his son. "This man you know as Mr. D, the volunteer, is no such thing. He is Damien Moreau, my son. A billionaire who decided to play teacher for fun at the expense of your lives." A murmur swept through the auditorium. Teachers exchanged looks, students turned to one another in shock. Selena remained frozen, as if the floor had disappeared beneath her. Victor didn't stop. And as if that weren't enough, he also chose to get close to certain people. Humble people, but ambitious. People who know how to use tears and speeches to win the hearts of the wealthy. He slowly turned his face towards Selena. "I'm talking about you, Mrs. Caldwell." The air was sucked out of the room. Selena's eyes widened, her face burning with humiliation. "What?" Victor continued, merciless. "Everyone here knows that women like you always find a way to benefit. Getting close to my son, pretending to be just a dedicated mother, when in truth, all you wanted was a ladder out of your mediocre life. Enough, father." Damien's voice exploded. He rushed to the stage, out of breath. "You have no idea what you're saying." But Selena was already standing. Her hands trembled, her eyes filled with tears. "So it's true? You're a Moreau?" Damien tried to get closer. "Selena, I wanted to tell you. I just needed time." She stepped back, tears falling. "Time? You looked at me, at my daughter, and lied every day. It wasn't a lie. I just didn't want my last name to be the first thing you saw in me, and you made sure it was the last." Her voice cracked. The audience sat in complete silence, witnessing a tragedy unfold. Amara, not understanding, tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, what's happening?" Selena hugged her daughter tightly, looking at Damien with eyes full of pain and disillusionment. "I believed in you. I believed you were different. But in the end, you're just like the others, hiding secrets, playing with our lives like it's some game." Damien tried to hold her hand, but Selena pulled away sharply. "Don't touch me." His heart shattered right there, in front of everyone. Victor, satisfied, adjusted his tie and concluded, "Now everyone knows the truth. And don't say I didn't warn you. No one plays games with a Moreau." Selena left the auditorium. With firm steps, carrying her daughter in her arms, but inside she felt broken. Damien remained on the stage, staring at the audience in silence, swallowing the pain of watching love be born and die in front of everyone. Under the cruel shadow of his own father, the days that followed were torment for Damien. Headlines flooded. The newspapers. Billionaire's son goes undercover in public school. Moreau exposes heir's secret romance with janitor. Selena disappeared from the hallways, trying to shield Amara from the cruelty of the city. Alone, crushed by his father's shadow and her absence, Damien realized he could no longer live tied to an empire built on lies. At the press conference called by Victor to salvage the family name, Damien shocked everyone in front of cameras and executives. He took the floor. "Today they expect me to praise the Moreau Foundation, but I can't. It would be a lie. And I've already lied enough." He exposed the misappropriation of funds intended for schools, denounced his own family, and despite his father's protests, announced, "I resign from the Moreau Empire. My personal fortune will be used for real programs in public schools." Victor left under a wave of boos, while Damien, for the first time, spoke not as an heir, but as a man. On a quiet street in Baltimore, Damien knocked on Selena's door. He handed her documents, proof that he had cut ties with it all. "I didn't come with excuses, I came with action. You and your daughter taught me what justice is." Moved, Selena replied, "You gave up everything. It wasn't a sacrifice. It was a choice." Amara ran to him and grabbed his hand. "Are you really going to fix the schools?" Damien smiled. "I promise. And this time, I'll keep it." Selena still hesitated. "Earning back my trust will take time." Damien looked her in the eye, unwavering. "Then I'll wait, as long as it takes." In their gaze, the distance began to fade. The first step toward redemption had been taken, but the road ahead was still long. Months had passed since the press conference that shook the city. The name Moreau, once synonymous with arrogance, was now remembered for the Living Schools project. The first renovations were already showing results. Leaks had disappeared. Libraries were being built, and children who once walked through dark hallways were now studying in classrooms. Full of light, Selena walked through the renewed corridors. With lighter steps. She still wore the uniform, but now she was heard in meetings and respected like never before. At her side, Damien, dressed in a simple suit, followed every detail. Between them remained traces of pain, but a quiet trust had also begun to grow. After noon, Amara ran up to Damien with a sketchbook. "Look, I drew the building I want to build when I become an engineer. It's going to have big windows so the sun can come in." He knelt down with a smile, "And I'll be there to see it." "If you let me, I want to be the first to cut the ribbon." Amara hugged him tightly. "You're already part of it." Selena watched, emotional. She stepped closer and murmured, "You've changed. Not just for the school, but for us." Damien held her hand. "Then let's believe together, step by step. I want to be the man you can trust." She looked at him with tear-filled eyes, and the shine of surrender finally overcame the fear. That late afternoon, under Baltimore's golden sun, mother, daughter, and the man who defied his own blood walked together. No longer a scandal, but a symbol of change. Selena summed it up. Love is only real when it's born from respect and the courage to face injustice. Damien added, "Money can build walls, but only truth builds homes." And so, with their hands intertwined, a new family blossomed, living proof that dignity always prevails. And that was our story today. I want to know what you thought. Leave your rating from 0 to 10 in the comments for this emotional story. If you enjoyed it, Don't forget to leave a like, share it with someone special, and subscribe to the channel to follow the next stories. And before you go, I've picked another even more intense and emotional story for you, one I'm sure will touch your heart in a unique way.